Okay, so the last portion of the practice quiz is about the lab. So this is learning or lab target F, and so this one we're going to be basically doing the exact same thing that you did in your lab in terms of figuring out which solution was in which bottle, but we did all the pre-lab work for you. So the first thing that you're going to probably want to do is count up the number of times each of the reactants react. So starting with AgNO3 and Na3PO4, so this very first reaction right here, what I see is that there is a solid that's produced here. So that tells me that, why don't you stay? Okay, so that tells me that AgNO3 reacts at least one time. I'm going to go to my next reaction, and it says AgNO3 and NaC2H3O2, and that's aqueous, so it doesn't react. So it doesn't react there with sodium acetate. And then lastly, AgNO3 and KCl. In this particular reaction here, it looks like it does react. So AgNO3 reacts 2 times total. So I did a hash mark, or I'm going to put 2. Now we have to go back and look at Na3PO4. And so in that instance, I see that right here I've got Na3PO4, and it doesn't react in this equation here because it's aqueous, and Na3PO4 doesn't react in this equation here because it's aqueous. But we have to go back up here and remember that Na3PO4 did react with AgNO3. So in this case, Na3PO4 did have at least one reaction, so that's 1. Now I'm going to go and try to identify, and actually I should probably do that in green so that it kind of makes sense. All right, and then the next thing we need to look at is sodium acetate. How many times did that react? So sodium acetate, let's see, it had its own reaction here, and it didn't react at all because it was aqueous. I go back up and I come back down and I see that it did not react here either because it's aqueous products, and with sodium phosphate, it also didn't react. So here I'm going to say that there were 0 reactions for NaC2H3O2. Lastly, we're going to go ahead and work our way through KCl. So KCl didn't start as a reactant, but it did definitely react a few times. So here I have AgNO3 and KCl, and there is a reaction there because it's solid aqueous. So that one is going to be hash mark of 1. Next time I see that it reacts that I see it in a reaction is with Na3PO4, and it does not react there. And then the next time I see it in a reaction is with sodium acetate, NaC2H3O2, and there's also no reaction there. So in this instance, the KCl only reacted 1 time. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to count up the number of times that the reactions occurred in the data table. And so in this case here, I see that if I go straight down like so, let me do it that way. If I go straight down like so, it looks like the first one, bottle A reacts twice. So that's 2 reactions. If I go, if I look at B and I go down and over, in the case of B going down and over, it looks like there was 0 reactions because there was no reactions in either situation there. And if I look at bottle C and over, it looks like there's 1 reaction. And if I look at bottle D and over all the way across, there's also 1 reaction. So there's a couple of things that I can quickly identify right away. I'm pretty sure that bottle A is silver nitrate, AgNO3, because they both reacted twice. I'm also fairly certain that bottle B is sodium acetate, NaC2H3O2, because it reacted 0 times. And if I look at question number 2, it asks directly about bottle B. So I'm going to say that bottle B in this case is going to be sodium acetate. And the reasoning that I can supply for this is the fact that sodium acetate did not react with any of the other reactants. And I can also say that bottle B did not react with any of the other bottles. Okay, so that one was pretty easy to knock out. The next question asks me to identify which solution or solutions could possibly be represented by letter C. So letter C, according to the data table, only reacted one time. And so that means that if I look at my data that's presented to me, that means that it could be Na3PO4 and it could be KCl. So the way that this question is worded, it's saying which solution or solutions is represented by bottle C. So this question isn't asking you to make an absolute identification as to whether it's Na3PO4 or KCl, but it's simply asking you to identify could either of those be bottle C. And so what I'm going to say here is I'm going to say that the answer that we will be looking for in this case would be Na3PO4 or KCl. And how did I know that? What I'm going to be looking for you to tell me would be that both Na3PO4 and KCl reacted only one time with the other reactants. And I'm going to also say that bottle C only reacted one time with the other bottles. And so that's how I would answer that question. I know in your lab it was a little bit more involved, but in the quiz, in the practice quiz, this is kind of what you're going to be looking at. So if you have any questions about this, please make sure you reach out to me and let me know. Otherwise, good luck studying for your real quiz tomorrow.